name's Ashton, and we have Tiffany Fung here, also known as Tiffany Ashley on Instagram. What's your TikTok name?
The same.
Tiff
Ashley.
Tiff Ashley. We are work friends, and today we're going to be discussing a multitude of different topics, ranging from social work, mental health, sex-positive attitudes, as well as being an Asian woman and a curvier woman living in Australia. So you are Tiffany.
Yes,
Fung,
I am.
obviously, and you are currently studying social work.
Yes,
correct?
I am. I am studying social work.
Where are you studying your social work?
At Curtin University.
What degree? Like, what actual degree is it? Is it like a degree in social work?
It's a degree in social work, like a bachelor in social work. Yeah.
A bachelor of social work.
Yes.
Okay. How long have you been doing that for?
I'm only in my second year this year.
Mhm.
So yeah, I dropped out of uni when I first finished high school. So and then
What were you doing originally?
psychology, which is not it for me.
What about psychology? Were you not enjoying?
The research and statistics that
Okay.
was involved.
So the STEM part of your psychology
Yeah,
degree?
and I was a lot more keen on like the sociological side of psychology, which is essentially just social work, and I can still work in mental health with social work. So
And that's what
yeah.
you're wanting to lean
yeah,
more towards into
100%
social work?
on mental health.
Mental
yeah.
health. Is there like a specific type of social work that you are wanting to focus on? Like within the mental health, is it like women?
I think
men's mental
women or
health?
youth mental health. Yeah, definitely. Like, I feel like, you know, as someone who struggled as a youth with my mental health, I feel like there just needs to be more people out there providing that, like, better services.
Okay. And like with your youth social work, have you like done any like volunteer work or practice as of yet?
Not as of yet, just because I'm still so early on in my degree, so I'm just kind of taking it easy, seeing how the studies go, but I do go into prac work next year as well. Yeah.
Prac work, like do you do like placement work?
Yeah, placement, yeah.
Is it like random placement? Or
I think you get to
choose
put in your preferences.
preferences?
So I'm definitely going to put in a preference for mental health work to kind of get that experience in and see how it actually is like.
Okay, that sounds really exciting. Is there like a social work that you want to avoid, just in general, while you're doing your degree? Has there something that you've been like, oh, I don't think
I
am
think
comfortable stepping into that?
either aged care or like youth detention.
Oh, like detention centre facilities?
Yeah, I think aged care is just really, I think, just hits a bit hard because it's a bit sad seeing the old people kind of wither away, like alone as well. And detention care, I don't think I've got like the stomach for that yet, just as of yet.
My younger sibling was in a detention centre facility. Although younger, detention centre facilities are very, very intensive, and there's obviously like a lot of issues at the moment with, you know, First Nations children being put in adult facilities, as well as just children just in general not being acknowledged properly
100%.
while they're in facilities. So it definitely is something I would assume would be
quite like
very tough.
you'd really need the stomach for it. I don't think I could handle that, unfortunately.
Well, not yet.
Not yet.
You never
Maybe
know
no.
in the
I don't know.
future.
I still have a few years up my sleeve. Yeah.
With mental health, you're very open and very comfortable being someone who lives with a mental health diagnosis.
Yes.
Do you want to talk a little bit about that if you're comfortable?
Yes. So at I think 13, I was diagnosed with depression and anxiety, and then started going to see a psychologist since then. I've kind of cycled through a few psychologists as well, as I feel like a lot of people know it takes a while to find like the right person to open up to and who actually wants to work well with you. So yeah, and then I think I was about 19 or 20, around that age, when I got diagnosed with borderline personality disorder. Started taking my like antidepressants when I turned 16 because like just therapy alone was not working for me, and I found that has actually really helped, which I'm very grateful for, because I know that meds may not work for everyone, but
Because
meds.
there's definitely that discourse around whether or not medication works for someone with a
Yeah.
personality disorder.
No, 100%.
Because personality disorders are usually considered learnt behaviours rather than chemical imbalances.
Yeah,
Am I right?
100%.
Mhm.
But I definitely think it does help with my depression and anxiety, which in turn also helps my BPD. I don't know if that makes sense. Yeah.
No, it does work. I can assume, because I take a certain amount of medication, and it doesn't necessarily erase, you know, the actual personality side of the.
But it helps kind of
manage the symptoms.
Like manage the symptoms of it. Not make them as intense. You know, not make my lows as low and not make my highs as high. Because you know, when I do get quite low, it is like very low. Like so. Yeah, so it's kind of nice waking up every day and not feeling like I want to die.
No, that definitely makes sense. Yeah. So with your BPD, do you find that like people are taking you know, because there's a lot of discourse around women's mental health and that often their symptoms and their feelings aren't taken as seriously. Do you find that, you know, when you're having a bit of a struggle with your emotional regulation, that sometimes you're not taken as seriously as other people might be taken?
Personally, I am very lucky that I do have quite a great support system in the fact that I have a GP and a psychologist I've been seeing for over 5 years now that really know me, and my family, my parents, you know, have done the research about BPD and how to help support me through any like emotional dysregulation. Yes, that's the word. Dysregulation. So yeah, so I'm quite lucky in that sense that they do understand and they do my parents do make the effort to help support me. But I guess there's only so much they can do to help to really understand what it's like, because it's just such a it's a mental disorder that's just so in depth, you know. It's just there's so many multitudes of it, and not everyone who has BPD will like look the same. Yeah.
Well, that's very good. I mean, especially because obviously you have Asian parents, and there's always that stigma with Asian parents that mental health
is like not real and like
not
not
real,
important,
or something that's not to be talked about.
Yeah, like
so
a very
really
taboo.
Good.
Yeah, 100%. So I'm very lucky in that sense that my parents are just very supportive and you know, are keen to help themselves understand about what I'm going through, and you know, taking the action to, you know, how they can help me.
With your like therapy, you said you've cycled through a few different therapists. Do you know if you've cycled through any specific like psych psych programs? Like I've done DBT, CBT, schema, EMDR. Do you know if you've like practiced any of those?
I've definitely cycled through the CBT, which is, for people out there who don't know, cognitive behavioral therapy. And essentially that's just like, to me, just did not work at all.
That seems to be it's
a very common thing, just because it's kind of like
with BPD,
because it's just kind of like, I felt personally it was kind of like essentially just trying to diminish my problems instead of actually addressing them. Yeah, and I feel like I'm someone, and it may work for others, but for me, like I need to address my problems and kind of be like, okay, well, how can I kind of face this head on, but also in a, I guess, like healthy coping manner instead of going into like unhealthy coping mechanisms.
A lot of people don't know as well, DBT, dialectical behavioral therapy, is actually a extension of CBT. It takes some of the positive aspects of CBT, but it makes it a little bit less, like you said, diminishing experiences. Talks more about like regulating your emotions rather than trying to
push them aside.
Yeah. 100%. Which, you know, sometimes pushing them aside can give you the opportunity to come back to it later and then process it.
Yeah.
But, you know, sometimes it can be really difficult to come back to those emotions.
I have tried DBT. However, because of my BPD, I tend to kind of do the thing where I hyperfixate on like going to see my psychologist for like 4 weeks, and then I get bored and I don't see her for 6 months. So I don't think I've done it long enough to actually say if it does work for me or not, because I just have been very inconsistent with it.
I mean, it can be really hard to go to therapy.
It's exhausting.
It is emotionally exhausting,
Yeah.
physically exhausting.
Yeah.
Like, I remember when I used to do EMDR, I would have to kind of like give myself the rest of the day off.
Yeah, it's just so exhausting having to go. And I know it's only like, what, for less than an hour of your day, but it's a lot in an hour to do.
A lot in an hour, and then, you know, you have the impacts afterwards.
Yeah, 100%. And then to have to try and regulate yourself to go back to like your normal self after unpacking everything and kind of facing the implications of that appointment is very hard.
Because a lot of people don't believe that therapy in the long run works. Same as like medication. There's like a lot of stigma behind just mental health and treatment of mental health just in general. So it's really good that you're able to
I think that
talk about it.
Like, my mum was not very happy when I started taking medication for my depression and anxiety, just because it didn't work for my oldest brother, who also struggles from mental health. And when he started taking medication, it didn't work on him. So she was afraid, which is very fair. Like, she was afraid the same thing was going to happen to me. So she wasn't very happy when I started taking medication, but it's really just helped me quite immensely. And I can feel it if I've like forgot to fill my prescription and then I haven't been able to get to the pharmacist, the doctor for 4 days. I do feel the effects, like the come down effects of not being on my medication. And life is quite difficult and different for me when I'm not on my medication. So it definitely does help me personally. But yeah.
You said your brother has mental health problems. Is it like along the similar lines of you, or is it just general depression and anxiety?
I think more just general depression and anxiety. I'm not sure what else. He's quite, introverted, so
quite private about it.
Yeah,
that's fair enough. Lots of people do like to keep that kind of look up for information to themselves. What medication do you take, if you mind me asking?
So I started out on escitalopram, which is Lexapro. When I was 16, took that for about 5 years, kind of like going up in the dosages when I needed to. And then I think just about a year and a half ago, I switched over to sertraline because the Lexapro was just not working for me. I think I was just on it for way too long. And yeah, like both of them have worked well for me. So
that's really good, because I've heard a lot of people have had trouble with not only the escitalopram but also the sertraline. I know I personally had a lot of trouble with sertraline as well as escitalopram as well as just general escitalopram. So it's good that they're able to work for you, but I guess it is also important to like acknowledge that sometimes medication it's like not a one size fits all.
No, it's good, like, see how it worked for me but not for you. So everyone's so different.
Alright, now we're moving on to the eye look. We're starting off with some red eyeshadow. I'm going to be practicing a little bit of graphic liner on Tiffany today. She's not someone who wears graphic makeup often. I'm very infamous for my, fun, creative makeup. So it's going to be fun doing that. But while we do that, we're actually going to touch upon, look up for me. We're going to touch upon coping mechanisms and what coping mechanisms you use within your BPD.
Yeah, so I guess a lot of my coping mechanisms, they're not the best.
Well, usually they're not when it comes to mental health. Coping mechanisms can be a bit more close.
So I feel like I guess like a symptom of BPD is impulsivity and like reckless behavior and all that kind of stuff. So I'm a very big impulse spender. So if I feel like I need that kind of hit of like dopamine, I will spend hundreds of dollars on something I definitely do not need, just so I can get that kind of thrill from it, or I'll go get a new tattoo because I just need that thrill.
What's your star sign?
Pisces.
Pisces, you're a water sign. That means your birthday's coming up.
It is. I think we have birthdays.
Are you March or February?
March.
What date?
18.
Oh, I'm the 21st.
Oh my god, stop. This is my besties.
Yes, besties.
But yeah, and then another thing obviously is that reckless behavior. So for a while,
can you open and look this way?
For a while now, I haven't actually, well, not up until like my therapist kind of told me that I tend to use like sex as a coping mechanism,
Mhm.
and also like kind of a form of self-harm, I guess. But more so a coping mechanism. Again, it's that, you know, that thrill of it, and
Mhm.
seeing this random person that I've just matched with on Tinder.
So you partake in hookup culture?
Yeah, I
Mhm.
do. I do, like, if it's like with a person that I actually do like want to see,
Mhm.
then I do enjoy it. Honestly, I think it's fun. I think everyone needs to go through a slight era. Um, yeah, and I think taking back kind of that ideology that women
Mhm.
can't enjoy sex as much as like males can.
Because it like discounts your like purity.
Yeah,
as a woman and
exactly. But like, why do men get kind of praise when they sleep with women? You know, they're like, oh, I just slept with 3 girls last week. And they're like, and their friends are like, oh yeah, like good on you, mate. But if I were to say I slept with 3 guys last week, someone's bound to be like, oh, she's such a whore, she's such a slut. So I think a really big thing in my perspective is like taking back that word of like that slut, and it's like, yeah, I'm gonna own it. Yeah, I'm not one now. Well, I'm a retired whore. But I do have like, I really do like that idea of
reclaiming the word.
Yeah, reclaiming the word and not making it such a negative thing. Like, I have had girls that I used to work with come up to me being like, you know you're a slut, right? Like, and it's not a good thing. And I'm like, yeah, I know. Like, what about it? And that just kind of shuts them up, because, you know, they see that it doesn't really affect me like they think it would. So yeah, it's just kind of reclaiming that word and just.
What about kind of like, why do you feel like these girls are like shaming you, or like, you know, trying to get you to stop, you know, being that way?
I don't.
Open and look this way.
I don't know. Honestly, I don't think it's jealousy, but also a part of me is maybe they wish they could they could have like the freedom and the bravery to do what I do as well. Which, I mean, they can. Everyone can have their slut era, you know. So maybe it's just kind of like their moral compass is kind of stopping them from experiencing that part of life, which I feel like maybe in turn makes them a bit mad about other people who are more accepting of like that culture within themselves, and like me, like, and I'm just kind of more freeing in like what I want to do and with my body and everything. Yeah, so I just feel like they're a bit, maybe it's just their moral compass that they're struggling with, and kind of like, maybe, you know, they're just, a part of them really does want to do that, but, you know, another part of them is like, no, but I can't, because that's not what society says I can do. And I think that's also a big thing, like society and their standards with women, and obviously, like you said earlier, like makes us women less pure.
Which is, it's just rooted within misogyny as well as Christianity.
100%.
Or religion most of the time.
The whole purity ring thing and that kind of idea, it's just not it, and it's the 21st century, so
we should definitely be acknowledging and embracing that, you know, sex is empowering, because it's not just like for like their pleasure, it's also like empowering as a person to be able to, you know, partake and
100%
pleasure yourself.
And as someone who has previously, sometimes I still do struggle with like body image, you know, for almost my whole life. Yeah, so as someone who has struggled with like body image, it is quite empowering to like go and like partake in these activities, and then kind of feel like, oh, like people do find me attractive and all that kind of stuff, you know, like, yeah. Sorry, I'm just gonna like, this is stressing me out for you. I feel like I can't talk.
You can talk, that's okay. If there's one thing they teach you, or one thing you learn as you become a makeup artist, it's that you gotta have a steady hand, and you gotta get used to blinkers. That's what I call them.
Yeah.
I get them all the time at work. People who can't
like sit still. Yeah.
Okay, look at me. Perfect.
But yeah, so that's kind of like, I think it's just very important for us women and us as a society to accept that, you know, sex positivity is on the uprise, and we need to be more accepting of women who are a little bit more promiscuous and enjoy the pleasures of life and sex.
Absolutely, I agree with you. I mean, it's definitely important, and like you were saying, you're someone who, like, what was it kind of like to begin with when you were exploring into, you know, being promiscuous and, you know, realizing that you do enjoy sex and stuff like that? What was that kind of journey? What did it look like for you?
Kind of odd. So I obviously like lost my virginity at 16. And then I didn't really start like my journey until I was like 18. So after I had broken up with like my first like serious boyfriend. And then I explored the worlds of Tinder and, you know, did what every 18-year-old person does and goes and meets up with guys and hooks up with them in their car in a dark park. You know, don't do that, guys. It's not safe.
No, that sounds
so dangerous. I don't know how I'm still alive and not been kidnapped, but you know, the wonders of the world. You know, I think it was just kind of trial and erroring, and I think it also just exploring what you enjoy helped me really kind of figure out like what I do and don't like, you know, in that part of my life. But yeah, there was some bad frogs that I kissed, but that's
not
alright.
the frogs.
That's alright.
It happens.
I feel like everyone kisses some bad frogs. It just makes life a bit easier.
Do you find that a lot of the time because it happens a lot, it's a type of like nationality. It happens a lot with First Nations people because, you know, a lot of their history has been erased, so they kind of identify with this nationalist ideology of being like a First Nations Australian. Is it kind of the same as like an Asian woman, like kind of just identify as Asian?
Yeah, I think it just makes it a lot easier. And back home before I moved here, so I moved here in 2014, so about 10 years now. I did go to an international school, so that's where all like the expats kind of went to school. So I went to school and was like taught by Caucasian people, like Aussies and English people. So I was already surrounded by that kind of environment since young. And there's a thing that people say that I like to call myself like a third culture kid. Like, so we just, because we've moved around so much, and you know, I've spent so long kind of I've just spent so long kind of suppressing my culture when I was since young, because I wanted to fit in with all the cool white kids. And obviously moving to Australia when I'm like 13 didn't help with that. So I definitely spent a long time kind of suppressing my culture. So, you know, when I'd go back home and visit, my family would kind of shun me because I'm not Asian enough, but then I come here and I'm like, I'm not white enough, and it's just it's just like, it's just kind of like that disconnect of what am I?
What are you?
Especially when other people are kind of being like, you're not Asian enough, or you're too Asian for us.
Like what is it?
What
is it?
Yeah,
you know, like
yeah.
where are you meant to be?
Exactly, like what am I meant to
rejected
be?
from both parts of your like identity.
100%. But I think as I've gotten older, I have come to accept my culture a little bit more and embrace my culture, which I'm very happy about. I've stopped kind of rejecting it as much, which I'm very grateful for. So,
what things have you done to re-embrace your culture?
I think just kind of being a little bit more open about it, and also like open about like the celebrations that we do. Like, it was recently Lunar New Year, and you know, I used to like never address that I celebrated it. I thought it was like embarrassing and like ew, like why would I talk about this? But you know, now I kind of really tell everyone, like, you know, it's Lunar New Year, like it's important to me and my family and my culture, and I just really embrace it. And
how do you say Happy Lunar New Year in Mandarin?
There's like different ways to do it. So I think in Cantonese, correct me if I'm wrong, again, I'm very whitewashed, it's Gong Si Fa Chai, and then you've got Gong Hei Fat Choi. Okay. Yeah, so I think it's Mandarin and Cantonese between the two. yeah, but I think growing up in Australia and then also being Asian and also kind of going into like, again, exploring my sexuality and my promiscuity.
Your promiscuity, yes.
My promiscuity. Yeah, I've definitely come across the men who fetishize, you know, the Asian women and that kind of, you know, ideology. So I've gotten a lot of men being like, oh, I've never been with an Asian woman before. I've always wanted to be with an Asian woman. Like it's a fad.
Like, what exactly does that mean? Like,
I know.
What is different? I've always found it hard to understand. Like, what is different
about like me
you being
compared to the
Asian?
girl next door that's not Asian?
Yeah,
you know,
exactly.
we still have the same body parts. Which is really odd to me. Or, you know, you get the typical I got yellow fever or
Not the rice queen.
I've heard the rice queen.
Yeah.
Yeah, so get a lot of that, get a lot of the fetishization, which is not fun because it's also just like, I want you to want me for me and not because you're just trying to like take something off your bucket list. But yeah, I've just kind of come to ignore those men in my life. My first ever serious boyfriend was someone who definitely kind of fetishized the Asians. Like, he's only ever been with Asian women.
That's never a good sign.
No, and I went to go stalk his page the other day, and he's now dating a new Asian girl. And I'm like, and I'm pretty sure he only broke up with his last girlfriend like
he'll be linked in the video.
I'll put his hat in the bottom. But yeah, it's really odd. He was also like someone who fetishized like curvier, bigger women.
How do you find being like a curvier, thicker woman, especially because you're like an Asian woman, which is a very complex topic on its own?
Yeah, because I feel like a lot of Asian women are a little bit more on the petite side. I feel like that's very typical, so it's not common to find, you know, someone like me that's Asian and a bit more on the curvy side. I think just being curvy, growing up, it was just quite hard because obviously I struggle with the body image and being like, I can't wear the clothes that everyone else can because they're a lot skinnier than me and all that kind of stuff. But I definitely find that obviously with the body positivity kind of movements in the recent years online and how, you know, everyone's kind of accepting of different body shapes and types now, being a lot more open about it, has definitely helped me kind of accept and like love my body a little bit more. But yeah, like the whole kind of fake like Asian fetish with being curvy as well does not help. Like, you know, you do get the really nasty feral comments from foul men. Yeah, and then again, my first boyfriend, hi, are you watching this? He had like a feeder kink, so essentially he was like really into like not even just curvy women, like obese women. Like I once he had logged into his email on my laptop, right? And story time, guys. Anyways, yeah, so he had logged into his email on my laptop, and I had to go into his email to log out. And then I had seen that he had like spent, I think, like $150 on paid videos of just like bigger, like quite big women in their underwear sitting on their bed eating McDonald's. These videos that he was like paying
that kind
for.
of like genre Trisha Paytas.
Yeah, and I was like, this is a bit odd. And then I just kind of started seeing the signs that I didn't see before, because I think he was my first boyfriend, so I was just thinking that he was like wanting to buy me all these like sweet treats and like take me out for dinner, because like, oh my god, like he's my boyfriend, that's what boyfriends do, right? But it was like a lot. Like, you know, we'd go out for dinner, we'd go get burgers, and then we'd go get ice cream, and then we'd stop by 7-Eleven and he'd be like, do you want this? And then we'll get home and he's like, let's have some snacks. Like, it was like a lot. Yeah, and obviously I thought that was normal at the time, but then, you know, after I left and I was talking to my friends about it, they were like, babe, that's not normal. That's a bit like traumatizing. So I kind of low-key still struggle eating in front of like men. Like, I won't ever eat on a first date. I'll go get like a coffee, you know, and I'll sip on something, but I won't eat on a first date. It just makes me really uncomfortable.
Well, even then, that's just like a big thing within culture for women. If you're someone who eats a lot, you're considered undesirable.
Yeah, and unhealthy.
And unhealthy,
yeah.
you know, and it's like, that's not the case at all. So you have not only this like trauma around, you know, someone with a feeder fetish, but
at 18 as well, like I was so young and impressionable, so obviously that really like kind of left a mark on me.
I mean, it's definitely good that you're able to get yourself out of that situation, because a lot of people definitely aren't able to
address it and like notice the signs. But yeah, like obviously if that's something that you've like consented to and you guys have had a conversation about, then yeah, like go for it. But I definitely did not consent to that kind of treatment, you know. And I'm pretty sure once we had broken up, because I wasn't eating as much as I was when I was with him, I literally like dropped kilos like that because I was just eating a normal amount.
So we've been talking about, you know, what it's like being in a relationship with like feederism. Do you find that like you find yourself kind of like falling into that trap a little bit with men more often? Like, do you notice
just
those
toxic men?
Toxic
just
men.
liking toxic men. My friends would say I know how to pick them. I know how to pick them. I don't have the best track record with men, unfortunately. Yeah, like my last partner like cheated on me for months with several different girls. And then...
Was this the one that blocked you? Or was that a different one?
Which one?
Oh.
Which one?
Which one?
That's staying in the video. No, this is the one that broke up with me over the phone 3 days before my 21st birthday. And left me for another girl. Yeah.
That's not great, obviously.
No. But no, I don't really have the best track record with men. Again, I think that's also part my BPD kind of like seeking that thrill. Again, that reckless behavior.
Well, because you're more prone to like idealizing men and falling in love with them.
You know, wearing the rose-colored glasses. I fall for the love bombing every single time. I was like, why would you not be in love with me after like 2 days? Like, what do you mean? No, I definitely do fall for the love bombing very easily. And yeah, again, that the idealization of like these men and kind of when I kind of find someone that I make my favorite person, you know,
FP.
my FP.
That's a BPD term.
It is.
In case you guys didn't know.
I kind of surround my whole life around this person. Like my last partner obviously became my FP. All I wanted to do was spend all of my time with him. So like I had like quit my job because all I wanted to do was sit, like, you know, be with him. And I found that the job, like for some reason my brain was like, the job's getting in the way, you need to drop that. And it was just a really bad like cycle, like it was just really bad. But I definitely think like my BPD symptoms get a lot worse when I am involved with someone, or in a relation with someone. Or
That's
even,
very,
like,
very normal.
Yeah, like, you know, at the moment, like I'm not really involved with anyone too intensely. At the moment, she's speaking to some men.
Do you find that like if you don't have a man to talk to or like something to invest your time in, that you get like bored, or do you enjoy that time?
No, I definitely do get bored. Like I'm, you know, if I'm at home on a Tuesday night and all I'm doing is watching Netflix in bed, I'm gonna be swiping on the apps because it's kind of like a game to me, but it's also just like, ooh, you know, who can I get attention from tonight? So yeah, I definitely do find that I get bored. I think after my last relationship though, I have kind of developed a little bit more comfort in my own company and being okay by myself.
Mhm.
I think, I don't know, we're still it's a journey, guys. Healing is non-linear.
No, it goes up and down. that's for
Exactly. So yeah, so I think there's moments where I'm like, yeah, I am okay by myself, but
Mhm.
there are moments where I'm like, I'm really lonely and get really sad and bored,
Mhm.
and I'm like, who can I fixate on now?
sure.
Sorry to the man I'm fixating on right now.
Well, I guess like there's an important thing to note about BPD is that it's not something that's it's not like something you can cure. You
yeah.
can't put a band-aid on it and be like, I'm done with that now.
There's no medication for it.
No,
like,
well, the medication for it is therapy.
yeah,
And it's like normal medication, something you have to do regularly to be able to make sure.
consistently, and
that
not
you're
everyone.
managing.
I work 2 jobs and go to uni full time. Like, I don't have the
Mhm.
time. I barely have the time to do things for myself. So like,
Mhm.
how am I going to find the time to go to therapy
Of course.
every week?
Mhm.
You know. So yeah, that's quite tough.
Amazing. Well, now we're gonna give Tiffany a spritz, and then I'm gonna pick out a lip color,
Ooh.
and then what we're gonna do after I've applied the lip, done a bit of a spray down, I'm just gonna come back. We're gonna maybe make any final points that we need to. All right. Well, Tiffany hasn't actually had a look at the full face as of yet.
Not yet.
Not yet. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna show her and see what she thinks, and if there's anything she wants me to touch up or change before we finish up, because that's always important to do as a makeup artist, to make sure that your client is happy.
What if
What do
I'm
you
like,
look
take it all off?
Well,
Well, give me a smoky eye.
I have had that before.
Okay, final reveal, guys. Oh my god. Oh my god, little freckles.
There's like a very
Oh,
up close
stop.
detail.
That's so cute. No, I love the eyes.
The blush.
I've
You've still
never-
got my classic hyper blush, but
I
it's
love,
a little bit more
No,
diffused.
I love the blush. I'm a blush girly,
Yeah.
so I love
Mhm.
the blush. I think I'm gonna steal like this placement from you.
Please normalize it.
I have never worn makeup like this before, and I fucking love
I
it.
guess we're gonna start now.
I may have to go get myself some graphic liners.
Mhm.
Oh my god, that's so pretty.
Well, before I finish, is there anything you want me to change?
No.
Are you happy? And
I'm
is there
very
anything you
happy.
wanna let the audience know? Not the audience.
Not the audience. Okay, audience. Just some pointers to take home from today. Be sex positive. Don't fetishize women. Period. Just women.
Mm-hmm.
And
Just don't fetishize.
love yourself. Thanks for watching, guys.
Thank you. Wait.
Hit that subscribe button.
Thank you for watching. We'll be doing more of these in the future. If you want to see Tiffany again, comment below and say we want more Tiffany, and maybe we'll come up with something different we can do. Maybe she can do my makeup, or we'll get ready together.
Oh.
But yeah, not that. But yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.